Turn on this computer. Hello, everyone. It's so great to see you, and thank you for joining us on Momentum Live. I'm Lisa Barnes, VP of Research and Development.
And I'm Christina Beer, and I'm Lisa's helper.
much more than that, but we'll go with that for today. And then we also have Dr. Brett Brimhall joining us today, and we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects and one of his favorite subjects, which is AXIO. What it is, why it's one of our hidden gems in our portfolio, and why you should be using it. So I'm going to turn it over to Brett to give a little intro of himself, along with jumping into why AXIO is needed in your everyday routine.
Hey, appreciate you letting me be a part of this. And actually, I was up in Salt Lake this weekend teaching, and we were teaching about the doctor, and they were talking about brain health a lot. And just my brief background, I'm a chiropractor by training, been functional nutrition for 25 plus years, been teaching physicians since 1995 on healthcare protocols my dad and I created called the 6 Steps to Wellness. I've always had a fascination with brain. Before I went to chiropractic school, I went and studied cranial work. I still remember my first concussion lady I treated with a closed head injury, and I just got fascinated with brain and how it worked, and just always how do you get people to respond better, which led me to reading all sorts of books and taking all sorts of classes. I've taken I don't know how many thousands of hours of different extra classes about brain health, and just how to help people. And so I'm going to show you a couple of books. One's called End of Alzheimer's by Dr. Bredesen. Everything led me to write in a book called Wake Up Happy Brain. I'm a co-author in that. And I've just constantly been in this fascination with brain. And my introduction to LifeVantage actually was because of working with a child that was struggling with, learning and behavior things. And it was the AXIO that turned him around. And that was my introduction into LifeVantage. I'm like, well, why does that work? We were giving him really good vitamins and minerals and doing really good therapy, and he wasn't progressing. And I just didn't understand, why would this drink that, to me, I remember his mom saying, I'm not thinking I'm gonna give him this. And I said, yeah, that makes sense. Let's give a hyper 4-year-old an energy drink. Oh, that's perfect, right? But, being a guy, like sometimes we say things before we probably should. And I said, well, that kind of makes sense, because what do we typically find people utilizing when they need a lift or when they can't focus? It's something with brain energy. And I learned early on, as I went back and met the scientist that developed the AXIO, he said, look, people are tired because they're mentally tired. Not so much because they're physically tired. And AXIO was designed to address mental fatigue. And it just all clicked in my mind that all the neurological training I'd had, all the patients I treated for decades, and just realizing, oh my gosh, I had missed like having something to address this idea of brain fatigue, but working the way our products work with like nutrigenomically activated. And so I want to kind of show you some slides. I'm not a real big slide guy, but I want to show you some pictures, some images that I think will make a lot of sense, because this is much bigger than just like, hey, I just need a lift in the afternoon. It's much, much bigger, much more important that we learn to utilize AXIO, not only to help people function today, but for the cumulative effect for the long term. And that, if you read books like Dr. Bredesen talks about, he said, we need to be working on brain health, 20 years before a symptom shows up. And hopefully by the time we finish this conversation, that at least you'll be more focused on what I need to do for brain health, because of the power that it's going to have today and how you function today, but also the impact that it can have in the future. So I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, go for it.
Here we go. All right. So this, if you think about brain health and you're like, well, what does a tired brain look like? And what does it feel like, really? So when I was with that little boy, like, his life looked like 35 hours of therapy a week, and just, like Groundhog Day, he would do a therapy, but it wouldn't stick. So the brain's job is to learn, remember, retain, and recall. That's its job. Like, that's its job. And if it's not able to learn and retain, it can't recall. And then it can't integrate. And so every one of us that have probably experienced some of these things you're seeing on the screen here, feeling overwhelmed or tired, or, have a hard time focusing, like too many decisions to make. I call it decision fatigue. You probably experienced that. That is an indication that your brain is tired. And when your brain is tired, the rest of your body is going to be tired, because your brain's job is to coordinate, control everything. It's not like when your computer gets hot or your phone gets hot, it shuts down. So your brain, when it's tired, it's hard to do the tasks that you want to do as well as you want to do them, let alone be successful at them. Okay, so
Oh,
that's
so true. I remember when I quit my last job to move over to LifeVantage, I literally had to take 2 weeks off because of that, just mental fatigue, because I had been just so overworked and so overstimulated. My brain had been just on fire for years, and I just had to shut down for 2 weeks before I could even consider doing anything new. So I completely feel that deep in my soul.
Yeah, so think about it. Anybody that's watching this, have you ever felt that? People ask, well, why would I utilize AXIO? Well, to me, everybody should utilize AXIO or would want to if they understood what it does. And so
Exactly.
and because we all had been moments in our lives where we felt that like, man, my brain's on fire. I want it no more. Like I'm going to go tap out. Right. And so
Mhm.
let me kind of show you what the solutions can be, and at least so right now people do what they know to do in order to function the way they hope to. I'm gonna say it again. That people are doing what they know to do in order to function the way they're trying to, based on what they know. So right now, the one of the most abused drugs in the market in the world today in the younger generation is this drug right here. There's a point where there's a shortage of them. A lot of people that college students or mom, they're doing this because they can focus, they can concentrate better on it. But there's some severe downstreams with that. The other thing that it's utilized and maybe overutilized, and maybe this has been you, is coffee and energy drink. The energy drink sales in the world has gone up crazy. Like in my office, I keep these around. I know, super sad, but I steal them from people all the time. I've had these for years. People ask me, why do you have those? Because I want them to start thinking and understanding like we're using these things, like whether it's coffee, soda, energy drink, or medications to try to function. Like I don't fault anybody for that, but if that's the only tool you have, that's the tool you'll use. So there's some severe downside to that. So there's a doctor by the name of Dr. Daniel Amen, and he does what's called spec imaging. He's got clinics now all over the country, but he takes imaging, functional images of brain. I'm going to show you a couple here in a minute of individuals that I've known a really long time, and what we do to brain has an impact on how the brain functions. So these are images of blood flow to brain, and this is what a brain should look like on the top when it's healthy. It's not normal, nice blood flow. But look at what can happen to the blood flow of the brain with different things, whether it's like you look at the one on the left, 4 years of marijuana. So I know it's legalized in a lot of states, but it has an effect on brain. Otherwise, people wouldn't use it. There are effects, whether it's from concussion injuries or from soda or from coffee or from recreational drugs or prescription drugs. There are effects on brain. Some are massive and can have downstream effects that we do not even understand yet. Okay, and this is not only this, it's also screen time, like the amount of time you're on the screen. I'll kind of hit on that in a second. So look at smoking, look at opiates, look at cocaine, look at alcohol, meth, strokes, all those. Like it puts holes in the brain because it affects the brain flow, the flow of the brain. So if you're interested in that, just look up Dr. Daniel Amen. Super cool stuff, great studies, because it shows that when people like are struggling with these symptoms, it's because their brain's not working. You can't see it. They look fine on the outside, but when you listen to them and talk to them, they're not doing fine on the inside. And this is what it looks like. So they're a severe case of Alzheimer's, but also look at depression. It has this it effect. So when you're experiencing those, so just so when you're feeling things overwhelmed, sad, overstimulated, hard time focusing, it's real. Like it's not fake. You're not crazy. You're not stupid. Like it's real, but it has to do with the functionality of brain and how it's functioning. So what we want to do is understand why is that, what we can do about it. This is kind of his principle. Just understand, like these all affect brain. Blood flow, your aging, inflammation, genetics, head trauma, toxins, immune system, neurohormonal deficiency, diabetes, sleep issues. I'm not going to kind of hit all that because if you don't know this happens. But here's what I want you to know. This is a study just done not too long ago, but this I highlighted it to make it simple. Right, this is big. 4 out of 10 leading cause of disability in the U.S. and other developed countries are mental disorders. Disability, right? So where people cannot function the way they want. It rates in a lot of industrial countries up to 26% in America, up to 4% in China, and that's a problem. If it's in America 26%, we need to ask the question why, and I'm not going to get into that. But here's a couple of things that I thought was really fascinating with this study. This nodal distribution can be also explained by studies which show the lack of certain dietary nutrients contribute to development of mental disorders. Essential fatty vitamins, minerals, omega-3 fatty acids are often deficient the general population, exceptionally deficient in patients suffering from mental disorders. Studies have shown that daily supplements of vital nutrients often effectively reduce patient symptoms. So here's kind of a cool thing. The blue, based on emerging scientific evidence, this form of nutritional supplement treatment may be appropriate for controlling major depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and anxiety disorders, eating disorders, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, addiction, and autism. So we're not talking about treating these things, guys. But what I found interesting is that these things they're looking at when it comes to helping brain health. So if you want a healthy brain, so if you're listening to this, you have a brain like that. You do. So I hope, right? But how well is it functioning? Well, it's going to function based upon what you do to it, like how well you treat it. And you only get one. Like that's it. We get one. And I think that one of the most difficult diseases to watch is Alzheimer's, because you lose the person before you lose them. And so it's very critical that we look at brain health and understand the effects that what we're doing today have a severe downstream effect. So even like a lot of us want to feel better in the moment, which is good. We want to, but understand what you're doing daily is going to impact your brain functioning. Then affects everything about how you feel, the connections you make. And so this is super important to me, especially with what I've seen in my clinical practice. So I'm just going to hit a couple of things when it comes to AXIO. This is the product that really brought me to LifeVantage. As a nutritional formulator, as an educator, as a doctor that's treated patients, as someone that's educated for this for a lot of years, I was not looking for another product. Okay, but I'm always looking at how my patients and individuals respond. And this little boy I was working with, he was not responding to the therapy. He was doing the work. He was seeing occupational therapists. He was seeing other physicians. He was doing the vitamins and minerals. He was gluten-free, soy-free, sugar-free, fun-free, I call that. Taking all the things out that we know affects brain in a negative way, yet he still wasn't learning. Like he still wasn't learning. So when AXIO comes out and his mom learned about it, she gave it to him, and all of a sudden he started remembering what he was doing and retaining it and recalling it and progressing. So you might want to ask, well, why is that? He was taking vitamins and minerals. So yes, the vitamins are important. I'm going to hit it, but I'm also talking about the synergy of how they work. So when you look at brain health, there's things called nootropics. So if you want to look at AXIO, it's designed as a nootropic, which affects brain function and brain learning, to be able to perform and to retain and recall. So things like B vitamins, magnesium, caffeine, DMNE, pine bark, L-theanine, quercetin, all of these, if you go and look them up on PubMed, they all have specific and powerful effects on cognition, on learning, on brain health, right? Really important, okay? But even more important is how these work together and how they're put together. So I love science, I love research, but I've read so much and studied, and I've used so many products that I was disappointed in the sense of I would give them, because the research sounded good, the studies looked good, but when I put it into people's lives, it would sometimes be disappointing. I call that buyer's remorse when you buy a gift or something like that. But in medicine, I call it just like, why not? Like, why are we not getting the result? And that's when you got to understand it's not about the ingredient as much as it is how the ingredients are put together and how they affect the cells, right? So with LifeVantage, what I've learned is because of how they formulate and how they put things together, I don't have to guess if it's going to do what we hope it's going to do because we've tested it. And so now being a part of LifeVantage for now 10 years, I've watched this in not only my group of people that I've been responsible for my teams and the cumulative effect that this can have. So I want to hit a couple of things here. Go to PubMed, check these out if you need the validation of the individual ingredients. But again, you can go on Amazon, you can find all sorts of products that have ingredients in it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to give you the results you hope so. To me, the most expensive product is the one that doesn't work, the one that doesn't give you the results you're looking for, right? But it only works if it goes into you consistently. Exercise works 100% of the time on 100% of the people, but you have to be consistent. I believe this is the same way. I don't know how you're going to feel it. I don't know how you experience it, but it will work because this was how your brain functions. And this is what your brain needs. So I'm going to kind of slide through. There's tons of cool studies out there. You can drive you crazy, but here's where it matters to me. So this is my nephew's handwriting. All right. And so this was 9. He was 9 at the time. And so when I first found out about AXIO and I started seeing some results in clients, there were a couple of people specifically that I reached out to because I had individuals that I couldn't help the way I wanted. And that bothers me, like, especially family, right? And so people that give everything they could to help their children, yet they could not. And it wasn't because we weren't trying. It wasn't because they weren't doing the therapy. It wasn't because they weren't doing the diet. It's just like it just wasn't working. It wasn't clicking. So if that's you, or that's someone you know or love, and it doesn't have to be a child. I've worked with a lot of children, but also a lot of adults. Same thing, right? And people self-medicate themselves. I mentioned that with whether it's a pharmaceutical or recreational or an energy drink. Like they're just using what they know. So this little guy's 9 at the time. Just to give you perspective what his life was like, he struggled in school. He had to stay in at recess, right? He was one of the last kids to be picked on teams because he just didn't socialize well. And so when I saw what I saw in the one little guy, I went to his mom and dad. I said, look, we've done all sorts of neurofeedback with him. We've done different dietary stuff. I said, let's try this. Let's try this and see. And I had a good friend of mine that introduced me to LifeVantage, Carrie Williams, many of you guys know, come with me to share the story of what we see with their son. I was just hopeful at this point. Like it made sense to me, but I just didn't know. So his mom sent me this. This is his handwriting. He took the Protandim and the AXIO. Protandim to me is, in my opinion, critical because it helps your body produce glutathione, a lot of other things that your brain needs. All right. He took this and the AXIO. This was his handwriting on the left. 2 weeks later, his mom sent us this picture. But even more important than obviously handwriting, which my kids see this picture and they're like, Dad, you need more AXIO because my handwriting, I guess, is not ideal. It's funny. Yeah, it is true. So
Stereotype is real. My sister's a surgeon, and I'm one of the few who can read her handwriting. So
hey, I tell him it's because it's code. You have to read in code. So it's pretty funny though. But so this little guy, but what was cool is the handwriting changed, but instead of being the last one to finish in class, he became one of the first ones. Instead of having trouble socially, he began to make friends. Right now he's a junior in high school. He was on the varsity team, started varsity from volleyball, very much more social, much more able to regulate his emotions because his brain now communicates and coordinates and learned and processes differently because of the AXIO. Now, this is not isolated. Like I have another nephew, very similar. Unfortunately, he was born on drugs. My other sister adopted him, and I've watched his brain over the last 10 years do things that we didn't know would ever happen to where now he graduated high school actually early, and starting life, right? So to me, this can be a game changer because this helps brain do what it's designed to do and to learn. So what I want to do, I want to show you guys one really cool thing because people ask me, I say, well, who could benefit? Like who can benefit from this? And is it just a is it a drink like for somebody that struggles with learning, or is it a drink that like what I mean, why would I use this thing? Well, I think if you want your brain to function, ideally you would use it. I truly think that. So here's how you know you might benefit. If you're alive, if you have a brain too, but really, if you ever feel like you reached it for soda or coffee or an energy drink or Zip Fizz or Emergency, like all of those things is you're wanting them because your mind is tired, right? And so that's why you're doing it. So you're reaching for those because your mind is tired. Well, what if you had something that was designed to address brain fatigue, brain tiredness, brain focus, brain concentration? That's what this is. Can you guys see this picture?
yes.
Okay. So this is a really good friend of mine, and her daughter was one of actually the first person that I call her mom and her, because I'd worked with this little girl since she was 5. Okay, hard time gaining weight, struggled in every way you can imagine, a laundry list of diagnoses, right? Just as far as focus and concentration and development, like we never ever thought that we didn't know if she'd ever be able to live on her own, like that, just from perspective. And she went to Dr. Ahmed's clinic in 2012. So I wasn't introduced to LifeVantage until 2014. So these first images, it was clear then, right? And this was us after working with her since she was 5, she was 15. So for 10 years, right? 10 years of working with her, she still struggled a ton. So her life, like she was in high school at the time and just, had all sorts of IEPs and just hard time learning, hard time focusing. And I called her mom, look, I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing this. I just think it's worth a try. And her mom's like, I don't know. Well, sure. And she wanted to do whatever she could because, man, when she went to Dr. Amen in 2012, at that point in time, she was on over $1,000 worth of supplements a month to try to help her function. And she was doing, we'd have good windows here and there. Like we'd have like what she called a blue moon every few months, or where she had a really good day, but just struggled staying on task, distracted like crazy. And so this image is here, this would be a healthy brain on this side. So a healthy brain is a blue brain, and where the communication is in very specific areas during very specific activities. So her first one in 2012, you see all the red and white everywhere. That's just a distracted brain. It's everywhere, like everything's lighting up, right? And what you'll notice, this is her being relaxed down below. This is her concentrating. So what you'll notice is when somebody's like, some people go to concentrate, their brain gets worse, and that's what's her case. So she tried to focus on something, someone's ever be like, hey, focus, focus. I'm not trying, right? Well, this is when she went to focus, her brain lit up in places that shouldn't. It's because the brain's job is to regulate and control and to focus, and it was not able to do that. All right. So she wanted her mom retested her just this last year. All right. So look at the difference in the brightness, number one, but you should have white in the backside of the brain, which is what you're seeing here. And that's what we're seeing. And also look at when she goes to concentrate, it doesn't light up everywhere. And what was fascinating about that is we were seeing that, we saw that clinically. Like I was seeing that clinically. And she'd been really consistent with this, right? Again, this is another girl who I call fun-free, gluten-free, soy-free, sugar-free, all those type of things. But like she would try to remove all the stuff. Well, this little girl, like just seeing the images are cool. Well, she's now in her 20s and she's on like less than half of what she's taking. She's taking these activators now. And she's now moved from Arizona to Utah to go to a specialist college because she's going to integrate into society. This is something we never thought was possible. Now, these are extreme cases. I want to say this is something we never thought was possible, right? But like I'm going to show you one other slide really quick so what her mom did, like her mom purposely took her off AXIO and her other products for about 8 days because she wanted to see what does it look like without it being in her that day, right? And so what we found is obviously this is why I talk about the power of taking something cumulatively. What you do, just like exercise, had a cumulative effect. So there's power, even if you're not feeling the result today, like for this little girl, like the cumulative effect is why she's now working towards integrating into society where we didn't know if she'd ever be able to leave home. Okay, so if you have teenagers that you hope will eventually launch, maybe this is beneficial. No, it's kind of funny. All right, so let me show one other one, and then we'll summarize. All right,
Perfect.
so let me pull this one up. I have to shift my screen. Oh.
No worries. The juggle of Zoom.
All right, so I don't expect you to really get this, but this was this is a cognitive test they had this little girl do, and her mom CCB more. I got permission from her to share all this. So remember, so she was curious. Well, she's done. Obviously, the screen everything looks better when she's than she was like 10 years ago, so 12 years ago, even off the AXIO. But with the AXIO, it is still beneficial for her to take the AXIO. So she called them up and said, hey, can I just retest her? I want to give her some of what I've been giving her and see what happens. So they just did the cognitive test. So this is with the AXIO. So you want these markers here to be further to this side. And what you'll see, there's improvement in a lot of them bumped over, even a few points to some of them significantly in her. And these are all based on like focus and concentration and memory and all the things that you're looking for improvement. Like you'll see that and this is just, remember, she just is like a week back on them. And you'll see things like her focus and her planning, solving and problem solving bumped over. Some didn't, but the majority of them bumped over a little bit. So that's the power of and again, her mom was curious. Like we didn't know if it would or would not, but how cool is that to know that it had an effect on how she processed today let alone change how our brain performed long term.
Yeah, showing the
Super,
long-term benefits plus the short-term results.
the
of
short-term
products
benefits.
like that.
Yeah, and a
A
couple
lot of times
things.
if you don't feel something immediately, we like short-term gratification. And if we don't do it, we're like, okay, we'll move on to the next thing instead of thinking the longer term picture of where will I be in 20, 30, 40 years. All of the choices, like you said, Brett, that we're making now are really going to shape so much of our health in the future. And so if we really want all of our systems, including our cognition, to work the way they're intended, we do really need to start addressing them at the source through activation, which is our approach where we're going alongside our body's natural processes and really helping to come alongside them so they work the way they're supposed to. Because a lot of times those processes are either slowing down or speeding up negatively, and we're bringing them back into balance so it's working the way they should. But we need to be thinking now for things that could be how we want our brain or our organs or our whole bodies to function in the next 20, 30, 40 years.
100%.
Yeah.
There are a couple
Well,
of questions that I get all the time. I want to run through just if we have a couple minutes. So one is people will say sometimes when I take the AXIO, I get a rash or a flush. They don't know what that is. And so one of the things that's in the AXIO is called niacin. It's phenomenal. It works well. But if you happen to drink it really fast on an empty stomach, you're going to get what's called a niacin flush. And by the way, it's actually healthy. That if you read the research, look at niacin flush, there's tons of health benefits to it. But if you've never experienced it before, it can be a little like concerning. And people get these, they'll look red and maybe they say it's a rash. It's not a rash, it lasts for a few minutes. But if you want to avoid that, like just do it with food. Some people actually like that flush. Like I know people, they purposely do it because they like that feeling.
Especially for workouts and things, it feels like it's working.
Yeah. So anyway, so I want to mention that. And then I get the question a lot, and I'll kind of maybe have you guys address this, is the maltodextrin. I know we said people, what about the maltodextrin? Like, what is it? Is it okay? Is it safe? And I have my opinion on that, but I want to kind of get your take on that.
Yeah, Christina, I'm gonna let you take this one.
Yeah, so
Because she's the one that
maltodextrin-
worked on some of the formulation work of these products.
Right, so we always look at efficacy, safety of every ingredient that we put together in a formula. And whether it's an active ingredient or we call it an excipient in a way to make the product dissolve better or flow better into a pouch, or just from a functionality standpoint.
Dissolve into the beverage. If it's going to
yes.
be a bunch of powder that settles to the bottom of your beverage so you don't even get it, then you're not going to experience the benefits.
Right, and the reason we add maltodextrin is because it's a flow agent during packaging, but it also helps with dissolving in the bottle. So, and we make sure that it's non-GMO, the safety testing has been done on it, and we also look into literature for negative and positive side effects and things like that. So from our standpoint, it's a very safe product or raw material.
Yes.
And we wouldn't add it if we didn't believe it ourselves. I take AXIO every day as well. And
one of the things, so people ask, like, where's the maltodextrin from? And like, do people eat maltodextrin? Like, I mean, it's a natural food, right?
It's in natural food. If you would eat just corn on the cob and your stomach would digest it, and your enzymes in your intestines would digest it, you'd create maltodextrin.
Yeah,
the same with eating a slice of bread. You would eventually end up with maltodextrin in your intestine. So it's a natural process.
Exactly. And something we're always looking at too is as new ingredients come up, as new flow agents come out, we're always testing them and saying, maybe how can we improve performance, or what are some other sources we can consider? So we're never just stagnant on our formulas. We're always looking either for new research on the efficacy side or on the functionality side. So if we ever find something that's better, then that's when we'll introduce it. But everything that we have out, we do feel very confident about its safety, especially at the dosages that we recommend and how everyone uses the product.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. That was one of the things. Some people ask me too, like, when do I use it? And I know for me, like, I drink mine, in the morning, and I drink one in the afternoon many times.
Same here.
People sometimes I have my kids use it as their sports drink. Now
Yep.
it doesn't have a ton of electrolytes in it, so I will add sometimes electrolytes to it. But I want that because most time with athletes or anybody else, they're fatiguing mentally as well when they're doing the sport. And so I have utilized that as part of the routine. And then I have a lot of moms use it. Like I moms use it both morning and night. Like if you're like I said, if you're reaching for any of those other drinks, like this, not only is it just it tastes amazing, by the way, the new flavors are amazing, but like all the flavors are amazing.
Peach nectarine, it's my favorite.
Right. But the compliance has been huge. As I look at nootropics I've used with other people in the past, sometimes it's hard to get them to take it consistently or to use it with, even men. Some guys are a pain in the butt. Like they are. Like if you don't make it simple and easy, they don't do it. They have a drink mix that makes it easy to get down individuals that they like and enjoy. It's been such a game changer, especially as I look at this population that some of the individuals I worked with, like I mentioned, those aren't easy. Right. But to have the results. And so a lot of times in the summertime, even when I'm working with kids or I make these into popsicles all the time. Like I'll mix it up, make popsicles with my kids. My kids can have that. Mine are older now, but I used to do that when they're younger. There's lots of creative ways you can do it. Sometimes I throw it in my protein drinks in the morning. So there's a lot of ways you can utilize it if you're a mom looking ways to add it into your husband's drink.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Brett.
Yeah, no, and what I like too is that you have both the caffeinated and the decaf, and so you have those brain boosting ingredients in both. The difference is just the caffeine is really the key difference. And so depending on how you respond to caffeine, you have multiple choices. Like I'm one where caffeine makes me like zero in and focus, so I can have it at 8 p.m. and still sleep beautifully. But then there's some that are a little bit more sensitive. And so then they have the caffeine in the morning, but then they switch to the decaf in the afternoon. So I love that we have both options and amazing flavors in both options so that you can really customize based on what your life is and make it as easy as possible. Because like you said, you need to get it in you. It needs to be a delightful experience. And that's one of the things we're always shooting for when we're creating products is we don't want it to be a chore to take. We want it to integrate seamlessly within your life so that you'll actually take it. Because the way these products will work is if you get them in your body. But if we don't get past that barrier, then we won't see these amazing benefits like you were talking about, Brett.
I think the last thing I maybe mentioned is this, that I have had a few people that over years, they say, you know what, when I drank that decaf AXIO, I felt tired. I'm like, I said, number one, are you normally an anxious type person? She said, yeah. I said, that's not tired. That's a calm brain. You're welcome. Yeah. Right. And so it's very important to understand, like, if your brain starts to feel calm and you've been like ramped up forever, you might feel a sensation of, oh my gosh, like I feel relaxed and calm. That's not the AXIO making you tired. That's the AXIO doing what it's designed to do, which is to make a calm brain. A calm brain is a healthy brain. And so just keep that in mind. If you have some people that are just highly like, blah, 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 like, super buzzy and stuff, then and they're sensitive to caffeine. That's why I love having the decaf version as an option, because everybody needs to be doing something, in my opinion, for their brain health. Like that's to function in this world we function in. It's super important. The last thing I mentioned. So on the scan, we noticed on that little girl. Oh, it's not a little girl now. She's like 23, but the doc said, hey, look, we're seeing the only thing they saw shrinkage in is in her prefrontal cortex. And her mom asked why. And he said, well, it only happened for a couple of reasons. And he said, the number one reason we see is because of too much screen time. And so the world we live in is that because when decisions are made for you by being on a screen or where basically you're playing games or things like that, your brain's not having to make decisions, whether you're scrolling on your phone or whether that you're, when you're not having to make decisions, it affects your motivation and it affects your drive. Right. And so many of us are on our screens a lot, and you see it, that screen changes periodically because you'll get bored if it doesn't. And that's taking your decision making away, which affects your prefrontal cortex. And so I just bring that. So just keep in mind, like, this is an end all be all. It's a healthy brain, but you also need to understand that you do things that make your brain work. And so that was the one thing that didn't really change on that. Everything said looks really good for her, but they mentioned that. So just reminding me of the power of what we need to make sure we're doing also with people.
Well, it's holistic. I mean, the answer is never just going to be just one product. It's a kind of accumulation of multiple choices. We have wonderful activating products that are really going to make a difference, but you need to partner them with other good choices. And so educating yourself about how to kind of boost your brain's health or other facets of your health, and then incorporating that along with LifeVantage products is what's going to give you that truly activated life where you're going to see those long-term benefits. So we aren't into really like easy buttons. Like we want to have the science, we want to have going to the root of the problem so we can see real change. But there also, you do need to combine it with other things as well, just to really maximize your life and make those good choices. So I think it's a good reminder. So I think the one thing that I want to end on real quick is just kind of a summary of a few reasons to love AXIO. If you just need to quickly talk about it, a few marketing points. Okay, you should be seeing 3 reasons to love. You seeing it, Brett? Okay, perfect. So 3 reasons. This is not the only reasons to love AXIO. Brett's mentioned like 50 other reasons you should love AXIO, but here's a quick summary. It's this powering up with smart energy without the crashes or the jitters. So that smart energy is key. It's different than a lot of things in the market currently, where you're just getting quick highs and quick lows, where you're just you're not actually addressing brain health. You're just quickly trying to give yourself the sensation of energy. It also helps to boost mood along with this mental and physical performance. So it's holistic and well-rounded as it approaches your health. And then you get this amazing taste with just 15 calories and then 0 artificial colors and flavors. Our colors and our formulas, fruits and vegetables. I think we're actually updating our FAQs right now to even tell you what those fruits and vegetables are. Like Christina and I went through all the different formulas and listed them all out so you can see what the sources of those colors are, and they're not artificial dyes. So you can rest assured in that, because we're always caring not only about the active ingredients, the activating ingredients, we're also caring about all the ingredients that go alongside them to deliver the product and to give you the experience you want, because we want it to be healthy and work with your health instead of being counterproductive. So smart energy, boosting mood with this mental and physical performance boost, and then it's something you're going to want to take and it's good for you. And so with that, I just want to thank Brett for joining us. This was amazing information. It's just this reminder that AXIO is so much more than just something to give you a pick-me-up. It's something so much more than just an energy boost. It's really, as you should check out Instagram if you haven't seen it. Christina has a fabulous video about AXIO where all I can imagine her is saying brain food. It's brain food where you're really going to the source of your brain's health, working with it so that you can have optimal performance. So check out AXIO. Decaf, caffeinated. There's lots of fun flavors, especially we have some fun LTOs right now, cherry limeade, which is caffeinated, and then peach nectarine, which is decaf, which is absolutely my favorite. I'm from I don't sound like it, but my roots are Southern. So anything that's like peachy, tea, Georgia-y is close to my heart. So these flavors are amazing. So check them out and start really working on your cognitive health journey today. So thanks again, Brett, and we'll talk to you all really soon.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.